Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the SU-100. It's a Tier 6 Soviet tank destroyer. It's located on the south spawn of Widepark and it's under the command of Deathnub. Now, he sent this replay in because he's rather pleased with it, and yes, I think he should be actually if you think about it. Game on! Well, I can tell from the muzzle brake straight away that that is the 122mm gun. Confirm that. Yep, it is. 390 Alpha, 175mm of pen, and it's got a reload time normally of 12.27 seconds, and we can see that Deathnub's got it down to 10.08. Now, this tank was an upgrade of the SU-85. And basically it's a combination of the T-34-85 and the SU-85 together, but instead of actually having just the 85mm gun, this one actually has the 122. They did name the SU-100 after the actual 100mm gun that was actually placed in it, but this tank destroyer does have a good selection of guns, and the first one that was actually put in was an 85mm, then you go to the 100mm, and finally you've got the 122. Now, the good thing about the 122mm gun is it can one-shot virtually every tier 4 tank, and because it's tier 6 it can be top tier in many games. Okay, he's dialing in.
We didn't even scratch them.
Yeah, you do lose a little bit of accuracy with the 122, but the hitting power is substantial. And if you get hit by that 122mm round, remember, that's the same sort of round you would actually appear at tier 8, let alone at tier 4. So yeah, it's only second in terms of the amount of damage it will do to the SU-100Y, the box tank. And that's got a 13cm gun as its main armament. Now, the hull is basically T-34-85. As I said, the gun is 122. The Soviets used to call it Pizdet Simu, and that means the end to epping anything. Because if something got in front of this vehicle, it could take them down. It's got fairly good armour at the front, 75mm, 45 at the sides and the rear. And, oh, I think those guys were having a bit of a tussle as to who was getting the position. And yeah, one was pushing the other one back down the hill saying don't stay up here, and they were getting hit by the enemy because the enemy could see them down up here. Yeah, and one of them's running away now. Okay, he's going to go for that VK3601H, fully dialed in, and look at that, 395, which is a high roll. The guy's just changing position, he's backing off. We've still got a shot on him though, and there's another hit, and that's a high roll as well, 427. He's down to our one shot, so the next round will take him out of the game. Instead of going for the T1, yep, he's got his kill. Okay, next one, T1 Heavy, who recognises that his teammate just got wiped out, and he's now hiding behind the wreck of the 3601H. Now, despite the fact that this vehicle does have good armour, well angled at the front, it's very highly sloped, it does have very poor armour at the side, so you don't want to get outflanked, because if you are outflanked it could be really a problem. And we can see here that one of the teammates is actually trying to push a wreck, I think it's the M41 for that matter, he's trying to push the wreck up so he can sit alongside it. Oh, that enemy got rather close. It was a 59-16. Let's see that again, because I was busy watching what the hell was going on beside us to miss the fact that he swiveled the vehicle, traversed it onto a target and fired when he was at virtually point blank range. Turns round. There's the 59-16. Bad move. He came up on top of the hill, but he must have been spotted, surely. Well, apparently he wasn't, and he was double bushed, and that may be the answer why nobody else saw him. It could also be the reason why the T1 Heavy never fired in this direction, because he didn't know anything was up here. Okay, Striv M42, that's a Swedish tank, and he one-shotted him out of the game. That's a tier 5 tank, So yes, he could one-shot a tier 5 as well. Okay, the T1 Heavy's managed to make his way closer to us. If we fire when he gets in the open, he probably will spot us. He actually fires into the track there. I don't think we were seen. Nope, no sixth sense. Going to try it again when the guy gets out into the open. There is another tank nearby. Yeah, he doesn't want to get caught out by that Skoda. He could be a lot of trouble. Oh, not anymore. That's his 4th kill, but he was spotted this time, so he has to move. And he's decided to run away down the hill, but he took a round in the tracks from the Dickomax with his 105mm gun. He's right up against the edge of the map here, and that's slowing him down. Yes, our M41 needs to move. He needs to hustle. There's only 4 left on the enemy team, but if one of those guys was to get close to the M41, he could really suffer. So, yeah, he needs to move. He's relocating. Now, there's only 3 tanks left on the enemy team. A Dickomax, the T1 Heavy, well, actually 2 tanks left. The Dickomax and the T1 Heavy, and 2 Arty, the Hummel and the Bishop. He's got no shot on the T1 at the moment because he's behind the buildings. And we can hear that the enemy just got our T1 Heavy. In fact, it was the Hummel. Now, if he does fire on this T1 Heavy at close range, he's going to do a lot of damage. There's the T1. Went straight through. Took that one in the engine bay. Now he's a one-shot. We're still reloading. The enemy Arty's bound to fire. He does. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's thinking about which way he's going to come round. He's going to come that side, I think. Or is he? It'd be a mistake to go the other side, thinking the wreck will protect him. It won't. He does come that side. It's not going to protect him. Oh! It ricocheted. He was unlucky there, but he's angling. Oh, he does take a round from the Hummel and the T1 Heavy. So now he's lost some hit points. And there's another shot coming in from the Bishop. Okay, close range. Yes, got him. And that really mucks the enemy up now because they've lost the Dickomax. And now it's just one enemy Arty left. It's the Hummel. Oh no, it's the Bishop rather. And he's close range. He's just to his left actually. Or is he? No, he's there. There he is. He is close range. He tries a shotgun. Just ram him. There's one big hit and then nuke him. He's going to fire at you. And that's it, he's blown up. And it was the Type 58 who got the kill in the end. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was a first-class tanker for Deathnub in the SU-100. And it's the first time he's had a first class. He's never had an ace yet, but he's certainly done well on this first class, because he also got a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He actually got 5, just 1 short of getting that Top Gun. And he got a sharpshooter for getting 10 or more consecutive shots on the enemy, as well as a fire for effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle. And finally, he got the high caliber in that game for doing the most damage overall, with a win rate of 9,697, which is super unicum and quite a bit more. Let's have a look at team score. Well, the amount of damage he did with that 122mm, you can see here now, 3,048 hit points. And remember, with about 500 hit points per shot, it doesn't take long to rack up a huge amount of damage, which is why the tier 6 SU-100 is kind of OP with the 122mm. You just have to put up with the fact that it's kind of inaccurate. The second highest damage in that game went to the Type 58, who did survive, and he picked up a Pascucci's for getting both enemy Arty. 1,891 went to him, and he also had 5 kills, so he also got 1/3 of the enemy team. And when it came to the third highest damage, that was the T1 Heavy with 1,630, just beating the enemy Hummel, who was also having a good day on that one. And he also got 3 kills, which puts him in second place, joint second place. No, just second place, because it was Deathnub who was in joint first place with the Type 58. When it came to base XP, the Type 58 did better with 1,217 base. 1,083 went to Deathnub, and they were the only 2 players who managed to get over 1,000 base. 863 went to the T1 Heavy on their team. He fired 14 rounds in that game, got 14 direct hits. Every shell hit the target, but not every shell actually did the damage. Only 9 of those penetrated. 3,048 hit points of damage, of which 900 were at more than 300 meters. I think those were the long-range shots on the VK3601, who was halfway down the railway track when he was taking him out. 4 hits received from the enemy, 1 of which penetrated, 2 non-penetrations, and 1 hit by wave splash. That was from the Hummel, and a near miss, which actually came from the Bishop, but the Bishop really doesn't have any stuns, so really doesn't count. 115 hit points of damage blocked by armor. He damaged 6 of the enemy, killed 5, and earned 45,239 credits on a premium count, 107,620 for holiday ops, and 152,859 altogether. After repair, ammunition, resupply, and consumables, he's still made a profit, 97,053 credits for the game. 1,624 XP, 3,250 for holiday ops, 4,874 experience points altogether. So a very good round in the SU-100, and it's another reason why you should get one of these, and especially load that 122mm gun. You might have to put up with having to grind your way through the 85mm and then get to the 100mm. Excuse me. But the 100mm is still fun because it's kind of fast to reload, and it's still accurate and still does a fair amount of damage. But that 122mm gun, it really is so OP, and it does knock out enemy tanks with just 1 shot. As you saw in that game, he only had to hit some of those enemies just once, and they just vaporized. So if you want a bit of fun, a bit of really OP fun, this is the tank to get. It only has 6 degrees of gun depression, which isn't so great, so you can't really use it over ridgelines that often. But it does have a very well-angled glacis, and that's one of the reasons why this thing tends to survive so often. We look at the armor profile, and we can see that, yes, that glacis is very, very heavily angled. The problem really is that it's got a fairly obvious weak spot, this area here on the vehicle. And that's where most people should aim if they want to take this tank down. You'll find that out when you look at the modules. Of course, we do have these viewports, which are basically only 75mm thick. Well, it shows up at effective armor as 101 because it's so angled. But there is this cupola here, which is the commander's cupola. That's only 45mm. So most players should either aim here or aim here to try and take this vehicle out. You don't want to... This is where the driver is, by the way, and the gunner... that's the gunner's viewport there. I think at least it is. I'm pretty sure it is. You can see the mantlet is fairly strong. So again, you don't want to aim for that. And you don't want to aim for where the transmission is here because, again, that's 105mm. So any tier 4 tank is going to have a great deal of difficulty trying to pen there. If you do try to shoot from a ridgeline and you try and go hull down, you are going to present your lower plate to the enemy, and that is a weak spot. So try not to do that if you can help it. Try to find a position where you can use your gun but still be on the flat and still concealing your lower plate area. Okay, the armour on the sides is fairly thin, 45mm, it's flat-sided, slightly better angled at the back, and you can see that that is 47mm, and the rear is 47 as well. The top of the vehicle, easily penetratable by Arty, it's only 20mm thick, so if you can land a shell on top of one of these, you should be able to pen it. Okay, so that's the armour. Let's have a quick look at the live version, because I have been forgetting to do that recently. You can see with a 122mm round, I think that's the one, yes, it is the 122, you would go straight through that armour, absolutely no problem whatsoever. If I selected the 100mm round, you can still see, yes, you will still penetrate. If I selected the 85mm, you can see that it's a little more difficult to pen, but only just. So any of the guns on this are easy enough to penetrate the enemy, but the 122 is the most fun, mainly because of it does have that 175mm of pen, but that big 390 alpha, which means that you do basically nuke the enemy tank out of existence very, very quickly. Let's have a quick look at the modules. Okay, there's the module map. Now you can probably see the reason why you aim for this area of the map, it's fairly obvious. There's not only the driver here, but there's the gunner sitting directly behind him, as I mentioned. And we've got the tank commander over on the left-hand side of the tank. The actual fuel tank is over on the left-hand side of the vehicle. And you've got a huge ammo rack on the floor and another huge ammo rack directly behind both the driver and the gunner. So, and there's the loader you can see. He's actually directly behind the breech. Now, if you actually manage to put a shell through the front of the vehicle, you're going to connect with both these squishy human pieces that are inside either the driver or the gunner, but you're probably going to hit the ammo rack too. And yeah, I'm afraid that's the drawback of this tank. If it does penetrate, if you fire a round such as a 122 and it hits that portion of the tank's likely to blow up straight away. The engine's right in the centre at the back. In fact, actually, it's got the transmission at the back there, not at the front. I thought it was at the front. Sandwiched between two fuel tanks again, both on the sides. It's basically a, as I said, an SU-85 with the bigger gun and a slightly bigger hull. But yes, it does have its weak points, but it's still a very good vehicle, very OP with a 122mm. So I hope you enjoyed that replay. I certainly did. It's interesting to see Deathnub play it, and yes, he did get a lot of damage, but still no ace tanker. He must have been a fraction away from getting it in that game, and I presume he probably will send us in a replay where he does get the ace tanker, but he'll probably get a Top Gun or a Radley's or something like that with it. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.